Hi, my name is Sean Brown, and this is a preview for the new game Alien Uprising by Richard Launius and Sean Brown, myself. This will be published by Mr. B Games.
And I'm Adam Koonsmiller with Board Game Geek. I'm here joining Sean to take a first look at this game.
Thanks for being here. So right now we show the game as an initial setup, and I will be taking the first turn as the first player. And the first thing the player does is he takes the 5 custom dice and he rolls these. These are going to determine our actions for the turn. There's a couple of special rules, but in general this would be a mechanical action or repair. This would be an attack action. This would be a wild action, and of course another attack and a wild. You do have the ability to reroll these dice up to 3 times. And if you ever do get 3 of a kind, you have the option to pick up the 3 of a kind and reroll these 2 bonus dice. It might get you 7 actions for the turn. So I'm going to actually take a chance here and try to reroll a couple of these to get that triple. And
you get one more shot at it.
One more shot, I'll give it a whirl, and let's see if we can get those bonus dice. And it doesn't look good, but we did roll an alien die, which is a little bit of a problem for us. What it does is it doesn't allow us an action, so we actually are going to only have 4 actions this turn. And it takes an alien and immediately adds it to a sector of our choice as part of
Here's what
penance.
the alien looks like.
Exactly. So I'm the pilot in this game, and I'm really good at reconnaissance, looking at things from a distance. So I'm going to take one of these wild actions so that maybe I can look at a piece of debris.
Okay, and I see here that I'm an engineer, and there's a nice little toolkit wrench here, so I'll take this item here.
Seems like a logical choice. Over here we have Corporal Diesel, which is being played by our dummy seat. He's their security officer, and he's very good at combat.
So he probably wants this gun.
I think he might want that gun to go
Excellent.
shoot some bugs. Going back to the pilot here, I think that I could probably take one for the team here, and I'll take this action. This just allows a movement for me.
So it's a bit of a dead die for you, but you get to at least move.
I will at least get a move, but I lose an action, correct.
And then that leaves me with only this choice, so I will take this item.
Right. So first thing, of course, that we do at the very beginning of the game is we flip a card to see what the event of the planet is. And over here we flipped this card, which is a brief rest. And the card basically said that, hey, we advance our alien gestation track, and we do a little bit of reshuffling, and crew members may heal some wounds if they would like. This is probably the nicest card in the game. I probably should have picked a little bit of a harder one, but I didn't. So this is our gestation track, and I would basically move this up 1. This signifies the rate at which the aliens are growing. And the stronger they get, the more they grow, and the more their numbers will increase, and the harder it will be for us to get off of this planet alive.
Okay.
So we're going to move this track up 1, and we are done with the event phase. So phase 2 is what we actually just did, was rolling the dice. That was the crew member phase, and now we actually take these actions. So I'm going to use this action here. Actually, I'm going to use my sonic binoculars, and I'm going to take the battery and slide it down 1 to show that I'm using this particular item. And this item allows me to look at 1 debris token within my line of sight. So in a lot of miniatures games, line of sight, you have to draw a string, or you have to do something really, really awkward.
Look at some chart of hexes and how they relate to each other.
Correct. So in this game, you'll see on the hex I wrote 1 and 4, and that means I can see anything in zone 1, or I'm sorry, sector 1, and anything in sector 4.
Okay.
So I'm going to use those binoculars to look at, say, this token, which allows me to flip it up.
So he has a token that's face down like these are all over the board, and then when you use this, you look at it so we can see what we have there.
Correct.
Like that.
So in this case, I found a piece of sheet metal, which is very critical for us to repair the ship so we can make it spaceworthy.
Okay,
so that might be a really good item for me to go grab. So I will, now that I've used my piece of equipment, I will actually use my wild die to move 1, 2, 3 spaces out to this token, ending my movement and using the action of the wild to pick up this token on my character sheet with hopes of running back to the ship with it on a future turn. And I would take this die and set it aside as the action's now done.
Okay.
And so, Ivan, you're over here. There are several things you could fix. You could go back to the ship to try to maybe fix our engines, or possibly our homing beacon so the rescue ship could find us.
So let's try that. That sounds like it's worthwhile. So how would I do that?
So you would need to move into the ship by spending one of your dice.
Okay, so I need to save this one to heal with? Or to use
repair,
on the repairing, so I'll use this die.
Okay.
And
so,
now that lets me move.
And lets you move, so you would want to move back into the ship.
And this is the ship here?
Yep.
So I move along these white lines?
Correct.
And how many movement points do I get?
Your movement values on your character card, that
so
would be
I see.
4.
Well, let's show a character card really quick since we're
Okay.
referring to those now. Here's one of the character cards. This is their health, I assume?
Yep.
And this is our movement points. And
Correct.
then his items that he starts, and that's an example that we just showed earlier. And then what his kind of special ability is.
That's correct.
So I'm here. Here's my token. I can move up to 4 spots. So I'll move 1, 2, and I'm in the ship. Is there a difference between these two ships' spots?
We're still working on the prototype map. The final ship will just have one giant hex to symbolize
Got
that
it.
everyone can participate in that hex.
All right, so that's Ivan's turn.
Well, so that was just the movement portion
Oh,
of the
okay.
die. You still have a wild action, which you could actually use to repair if you'd like.
Great. So I'll go ahead and do that. And so I'm working on the homing beacon. Let me go ahead and show that really quickly. There's a whole list of these over to the side of the board. So it looks like this takes 3 wrenches to repair?
Correct. So because you used an action on a wrench, we will mark it with a little wrench token to
Great.
show that you're 1/3 of the way towards fixing our homing beacon and possibly saving us.
Excellent. And that's my turn.
And that would be your action for the turn, correct.
Okay.
So over here we have Corporal Diesel, which we'll let you play Corporal Diesel, Adam.
All right.
And,
So Corporal Diesel wants to go hunt down some people.
Yep. And he's in prime position
He's
here
right
to
there.
shoot at some of these alien scum. And
So his movement is 4, so he can reach it. So the first thing he'll do is move to the same, move here.
yeah,
And now let's kind of zoom in on this action here. So here's the creature that I moved to, and here's my token. Looks like he has some info here that's relevant.
yeah, it's damage, and again we're changing the damage to where in the future, when he takes a hit, you'll flip his token over and he'll show a diminished skill, and then you'll remove him.
Makes sense? So that was my movement. I have this die at my disposal, so now how would I fight him?
So combat, you would pick one of your weapons which you would like to shoot at. And
All right,
the
I'm gonna
nice thing is
use-
you're actually shooting at all of the aliens in the zone, not just him.
Oh,
So
nice.
this guy was also in that zone, so you're going to shoot at both of them with your
So
heavy blast.
I'm going to use my heavy blaster here. So one use, does it click down one?
The great thing about the heavy blaster is you can choose how many shots you'd like to take. You could empty the clip into these guys if you felt like it.
They're freaking me out. I'm going to empty the clip.
All right, so you would just slide this down, and you could then go ahead and roll 6 dice.
All right, does the color matter?
I'm sorry, 7 dice. No, color doesn't matter. And you're in close range, which means you're in the same zone, signified by this 4,
Okay.
which means you need 4s or higher to do damage.
So 4s are hits.
Correct.
That's a pretty good roll.
That looks like 5 hits. The slasher has 2 hit points. The archer has 1, so that is plenty to exterminate these bugs, which we move over here to the gestation board
Okay.
because
They are going to
they will
be birthed
respawn
back
and regrow.
on.
Correct.
Excellent. And then that's
And that would be
combat.
Corporal Diesel's turn. And then Jalen Moon here would take her second action. She was our start player. And but she rolled the alien icon. So all she can do with this dice is move, which is good because, remember, she was holding this piece of scrap. So she can run back here to the ship by moving here 1, 2, 3, 4. And then she can take this piece of scrap here and put it over here on the hull board.
So we're reconstructing our hull with what we found.
Absolutely. So we're 1/5 of the way towards repairing our ship.
Oh, very cool.
And but of course she gets no action because the alien icon blocks that action.
Okay, and it looks like all of these kind of side missions have a front that tells you their requirements, but then when you get it, you flip them over, and now do they give us some benefit?
Absolutely. And each one of those, like in the case of the homing beacon, once you've repaired it, then there'll be just certain things that will allow the rescue ship to move quicker. And once that's in place, then there's another ability where if you find the amplifier for the homing beacon, well, it'll start moving at double speed.
Oh,
so
great.
there's lots of different ways to keep boosting up these powers. So Ivan, you have one more action here, which is a repair action.
So I don't have to, I was already here, I don't have to move, but I will use this to further repair the homing beacon that I was working on.
Okay, so we would add another wrench to that homing beacon, and we are 2/3 of the way towards that repair. And it would be Corporal Diesel's turn, which Unfortunately, he only had one action die last turn, which he spent, so there are actually no more actions. That would end the cruise phase, and that would be the end of the turn 1 as we know it. There are 2 more phases to a complete turn, and how those work is we get the bad guys get a turn, so this would be the alien phase. The alien phase works like this. You go over here to a deck of cards, which are blank right now, because I haven't finished the back of them, and you would draw one. And this card is going to show us what the aliens actually did on their turn. So the first thing that happens is we see a rescue ship. What that means is if we actually would have had that homing beacon fixed, missed it by that much, we would have actually gotten to move this rescue ship a little bit farther down this track.
And this track that he's talking about is our progress towards being rescued. So you can see we moved from the start towards rescued a little bit.
Correct. And we have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And if our mechanic would have actually done something with his life, he could have helped us out with this. But instead, he's back at the ship drinking gin and cleaning engine parts. So the first thing we were going to do here is we look at, we don't have the ship because our homing beacon isn't fixed. And then we look at Sector 1. And the red attack arrow tells us that all aliens in Sector 1 are going to attack. Now, how an alien attacks is they look at this sector here and they want to actually try to advance into the next zone.
Okay.
The problem is when we crash landed, we put up some defensive shields to kind of help us from these things.
Thankfully.
It's a very, very good thing. And what we'll do here is the first person that's going to attack is this brute. And so we're going to flip the shield to see how strong was the shield this time when he went after it. Luckily for us, it was a 5. So what I need you to do, Evan, is grab 4 of those red dice, as noted by the brute here. He has 4 dice, and we're going to be going after a shield with strength of 5. So to defeat this shield, you need 5s or 6s. But you get 4 dice to do it because a brute is designed to smash shields. That is his job in life.
So I got 2 of them.
All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to apply this 5 to the 6, which will destroy this shield. And then you're going to flip over the next shield token, and it was a 4.
Yeah, so
your 5 is going to apply to this shield. And it's going to shatter this shield as well.
Okay.
And you have 2 more attacks, but since there are no more shields, mission accomplished, and this alien's turn is over. But now since the shields are down, the archer has a clear path.
The
Now
next guy
normally,
can march right in.
an alien would march forward, but an archer sits from the back and he shoots long range. So since there's no shields for him to shoot at, he's going to take a shot at Corporal Diesel, who just happens to be hanging out there.
It looks like he gets 2
Yep,
dice.
He gets 2 dice, and so he's rolling 2 dice, and he
2 dice from that.
will be going up against Corporal Diesel's defense.
Now, does this little lightning bolt icon signify something relevant?
It signifies that he shoots with a ranged attack.
So that's
he
how
never
we know
actually
he's
comes and
ranged.
melees you. So Corporal Diesel has 1 die of defense, so you would roll his 2 attack dice of blue, plus Corporal Diesel's 1 defense die.
Ooh, that didn't go well for Corporal Diesel.
The alien's first attack is a success because 4 is greater than 1. And the alien's second attack is a success, 4 is greater than 1.
So he would take 2 points of
And
damage?
Corporal Diesel would need to take 2 damage.
All right, simple enough.
And more importantly, what happened here when Corporal Diesel took this damage,
Flip this around.
Corporal Diesel's health was damaged from his initial landing spot. When he takes 2 wounds, he actually now moves into a mortally wounded situation.
Oh no.
He's never able to heal himself above that red line.
That little red arrow.
So he's dealing with a diminished health. It hasn't quite affected his speed yet, but things are already turning worse for the space crew here.
So then we would do the same thing with those aliens and everything else?
Correct. So we would look at Sector 2. They don't have an attack order, but they do say, I'm sorry, after we've attacked,
So now we
the next
spawn
thing
more.
we're going to do is spawn 2 tokens.
Got it.
So we draw these 2 characters. Now, this isn't actually a character. What this is this is a gestation token. So what this is kind of like time in this game. And what it'll tell us to do is to advance the gestation token on the gestation track and advance the rescue ship because a little bit of time has passed.
Okay.
But this token goes away and does not count as one of the 2 tokens drawn. So we need to draw a second token and place it over here. Now, we drew a tunneler and a scout. Tunnelers actually have a special ability that they don't stop where the shields are. They dig under the sand, and they pop out right in front of the ship.
So they don't even start back here, they start here?
Nope. So they become an immediate threat from the second they're drawn. Luckily, there are only 4 in the game. We are unfortunate that we grabbed one on turn 1.
Yeah, it's been a rough turn.
It has been. And the other alien we drew was a scout. Scouts are fast moving, and they're designed to run down and see what's going on. So when they're placed, they immediately move, regardless of whether they had an attack order. So this scout that just was placed here is actually going to run forward 2 spaces. Then we look at the third sector over here, and the third sector has no aliens and no attack order, so we are going to draw 2. We drew a second tunneler, who's also going to pop out over here.
Ooh.
And we go to sector 4, which has an attack order, and we would basically do the same thing we did last time, flipping over a shield token and having an attack. Now, if you look at what we have here, the first guy to attack would be our scout, and he needs to...
How do you determine the first one to attack?
We have a little chart that shows the hierarchy
there's just
of all
an
the
established
aliens.
hierarchy. Okay.
Absolutely, and so he's the highest leveled character that we have out there right now.
If there had been a brute over here, he would have attacked first.
That's correct. So the scout gets 2 dice, and the 4 is enough to break the first shield. The 3 goes up against a 5, does not oppose that shield, and since it's actually lower than the shield, he takes a point of damage, which you'd flip him over.
Off the shield.
Exactly, kind of like a bug zapper.
Yep.
And he flips over, and since there's no picture of him on the back of this token, it means he was only a 1 hit point character. He's removed from the game to gestate another day. So then we would repeat with the slasher, who would now take over with 2 attacks. And his 5 would be enough to destroy the first shield, and his 1 would not be enough to destroy the second
would
shield.
take a point of damage.
And he would flip himself over to take a point of damage, and the new token would show that he only has 1 hit point. So the shields look like they've held, but we have this guy over here, the scavenger. Well, his special ability is when he's activated, he doesn't attack shields, he steals this precious debris that we need to fix our ship.
So
he grabs the token,
thwarting us.
and he steals it and runs away.
All right, and so that's that's pretty much a turn, or is there a little bit of cleanup left?
So that would be the end of the alien's turn, and the last thing we do is what's called a planet phase. And the planet phase is where we would check to see if we had to draw a gestation card. We would check to see if we had the amplifier on the homing beacon, if we would move the rescue ship, and we would adjust any of our equipment if we had multiple turns and weapons, kind of a housekeeping round.
Sure.
And when that was over, we would pass the first player marker to someone else and start over with a new action phase.
Action phase. All right.
And so that would be one complete turn from start to finish.
All right.
Of
Looks
Alien
like a
Uprising.
really fun co-op with an interesting, cool theme. Looks really cool.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.